All right, everyone, welcome back. Um, we were holding over here in episode 35 in Key to Redemption in our hands. The name of this class is Our Unity with God of the Days of Moshiach has already begun. And now we are holding over here part 3. This is the Dvar Malchus Pashas Vayishlach. In the earlier episode, we learned, that the Jewish people are compared to the moon. God is compared to the sun. And the idea of a new month, the whole concept that we say that Israel, the Jewish people, count to the moon, is because the the degree of light that the moon is illuminated with is indicating on the level of what kind of godly light is being bestowed upon the Jewish people, how close we are to God, and based on that, what kind of light Israel and the Jewish people can shine upon the world, which is the purpose of creation, that this dark world should eventually be lit up with godly light, and that light comes through the Torah and through Israel, the Jewish people and the Torah, bring the divine light to the world. How does it work? God shines into the souls of Israel. God shines in the Torah, through the Torah, and when Jews study Torah and do the mitzvot, which is within the world, they thereby reflect the divine light they are receiving from the sun onto the world. The various different changes that take place that are in the moon are indicative of the ups and downs in terms of where Israel stands in terms of its recipients of God's light. Now, we discussed in the earlier classes that there is the first half of the month and there's the second half of the month. The first half of the month, we're talking about lunar months. The light of the moon is constantly in an increase. The fact that it's increasing is a good sign, is a sign that we are constantly receiving more and more light of Hashem. Second half of the month is a time of decline, of decreasing, which therefore has always been seen as a negative, more, it's not such a positive time. And when I mentioned that's why we avoided in traditionally making weddings towards the end of the month. I'm not saying immediately after the middle of the month. Towards the end of the month, we make less weddings. It's not considered such a wonderful period of time. There are, of course, exceptions, but because it's indicating a concealment, a darkness, until we reach the ultimate concealment. So then the question, and this explains the reason why most of the Jewish holidays are either in the beginning of the month or in the middle of the month. According to this, the most powerful time for the Jewish people is the middle of the month, because that's when we are receiving full illumination from God, indicating a time of divine revelation, closeness, and so on and so forth. The question over here then is, how come Chanukah, which is the month, the great holiday in the winter, comes out at the very, very end of the month, on the 25th day of the Hebrew month? It continues for 8 days, so it carries over into a new month, but that's already the last 3 days of the month, of the holiday, depending on how the setting of the months are, 3 or 4 days. But most of Chanukah, usually 5 days, are during the declining time of the month. So we need to understand why is that, as opposed to all other holidays. Also, the Hasidic holidays, which are primarily the head day, the headquarters of Hasidism, which the Rebbe refers to over here in the Hasidic term Chag HaChagim, the holiday of all holidays. Very powerful day in which the lights of Hasidism were granted permission to illuminate the world. Yutes Kislev is also after mid-month, on the 19th of the month. So to understand, why is that? So we were learning in the first two classes that unlike what we understand the second half of the month as being a time of decline, there is really the second half of the month on a deeper level is really an elevation. And this itself has two dimensions to it. One dimension of the elevation of the second half of the month is that although light is declining, the purpose of the declining is that we are getting ready for a greater illumination of next month. We're preparing for the illumination of the upcoming month. So, and it has to do with the concept that the reason when the moon declines in the second half of the month is that actually the moon is going closer to the sun. And the idea is that whenever a recipient goes closer to its influencer, being that it becomes awed and it becomes awestruck by the awesomeness of the influencer, of the teacher, or a subject getting close to the king, or a student getting close to the teacher, a chassid getting close to his rebbe, whatever it is, a servant getting close to his master, it causes the dimming of the light of the student. Although when you're closer to your source, you should be shining with a greater light, but you can't display that light because you're so muted, you're so overwhelmed by the enormity of the great person that you're approaching. You're being dwarfed by the mountain. So you can't, even though you're much bigger, but you look smaller. And that's the reason, that's the idea of the second half of the month. We're getting closer to God. We're becoming, however, and we're preparing for the ultimate, and we turn, and by the ultimate nullification, which happens in the end of the month, we become smaller and smaller, more nullified, more surrendered, more negated, our limited existence. But when we reach the ultimate peak of negation, we're ready for a new birth, for a whole new light, for a higher revelation, which is the following month. That's the way the Rebbe explained is the concept of the second half of the month, as it has always been understood throughout Jewish history, throughout Torah information, even Hasidism. In this particular talk, the Rebbe reveals a dimension that I don't think has ever been revealed earlier. The Rebbe reveals that really the second half of the month also has something even deeper. And that is that when the recipient receives the Rebbe says like this: the first 15 days in a month, the moon is receiving the light of the sun, representing the concept of the recipient receiving the light of their influencer, whatever that is. It's as long as the two of them are considered two. The teacher and the student, the husband and the wife, the king and the subject are two separate entities. When there's two separate entities, and the recipient is receiving, there are levels in how much they can receive. There is when they reach their max. What's their max? The max is they're fully illuminated. In other words, like you fill the cup up to the very top of the cup. The student has received all that they can learn from their teacher. They've maxed out. If the teacher adds any more information, the mind of the student will blow up. Too much. So they reach the full capacity. That's normal. That's as long as the two of them are considered two entities. But then there's a much deeper truth. And that is when the influencer and the influence suddenly come to a realization that they're not two, that they are really one. And therefore, I can then give you that which is not transmittable. The entire giving that is being given from teacher to student, from influencer to influenced, from the sun to the moon, from God to the world, from God to Israel to the Jewish people, is that which is transmittable. What is transmittable from one entity to another entity? The external of any given entity. I can give you my externality. When I give you my external, that comes in a form of light. I am shining upon you my light. That's the external revelation. But then there is a certain depth to who I really am. My essence is not communicated. And that you will never know, because the only one who can know my essence is only myself. And that's what we might call the darker side of a person, the part that they cannot communicate. It's too deep, it's too high, it's not expressible. However, the only one who can handle the essence is yourself. It's your essence. This is who you are. So, just like we spoke in a marriage, a husband and a wife appear to be two souls, but in essence and truth, they're really one soul. And therefore they go through stages in their relationship where they discover each other. After they're separated, souls separate. The male aspect of the soul separates from the female aspect of the soul, and they're born in two different households, in two different families. They might be estranged to each other for 20, 30, 40 years. Finally, they meet and they're attracted to each other. The real reason they're attracted to each other is because of a subconscious attraction, because in essence, they're really one soul. However, because they don't know that they're one soul, and even if they know it conceptually, they don't feel it. The essence has not yet emerged. So the relationship is an external attraction. So the external attraction between the two is one on a level of light. What does it mean on a level of light? Just give me 1 second. Is one on a level of light. And that's what we call, as we discussed in last class, it's almost like what we can compare to a dating period between two people are getting to know each other. You're showing your prettiest self, your most beautiful self. You're not really being real. You're not showing who you really are. You're communicating on a level through a filter, and that means light. After we get married and we're married for many years, we begin to move, or for not necessarily many years. There are a few months, a lot of times we find, as we discussed in an earlier class, that the marriage can get a little shaky, and the two of them can suddenly find each other being not as attractive or not as exciting as they were in the earlier times of their marriage. And the reason is because they're unmasking and they're revealing a deeper self. The question is the other individual ready for that deeper self? Or are they maturing in their relationship? This is a delicate dance. But ultimately, the purpose of marriage is not that you should continue dating for your entire lifetime, which means being superficial. That's not what it is. The point of a marriage is that the two should be able to grow up and accept each other for who they really are. But how is that possible? Because you really are one. And just like with yourself, you accept yourself as you are, including your faults. You accept your spouse with their faults because you reach a point of such deep identification. You realize you were never two. You were always one. You are her and she is you. And in that sense, that's your perfect harmony and your perfect unity. And then your marriage is rock solid. Then you are inseparable from each other. Obviously, you still have to be a mensch, and you still have to care. Can't become a monster just because, I'm revealing to you who I really am. That's not what we mean. What we mean is, however, we don't have to be so on guard. We can be our honest, deepest, truest, inner core self. So the relationship, and that's what the Rebbe says means the real meaning of the second half of the month. The second half of the month is the maturity of the marriage. Although the light is becoming dimmer on the moon, which means the light of the sun is being less reflected to the moon, what's really happening is that the moon is going closer to the sun, which means it's beginning to discover its core essential oneness that it has with the sun. Obviously, with sun and moon and the scientific element, this doesn't work out to the fullest. But when we talk about what it represents, God and Israel, it means that the Jewish people are beginning to discover a messianic discovery, that we are not separate from God. We're not just creations here to reflect, special creations to reflect God's light onto the world. We are really the other side of God in this world. That's what the soul is, a piece of God. That inner discovery allows us to be able to experience the truths of God that are uncommunicatable, untransmittable through Hashem's rays or Hashem's lights. We might say the higher, darker side of God. And it doesn't mean less revelation. It's essential revelation, the essence revealed. And the Rebbe says that's why it expresses itself in the concept that although the light of the moon is getting darker, but yet the days of the month are increasing. In other words, after the 15th day of the month, we don't count 14, 13. The second half of the month is not being declined, is not counting down, which would represent a minimization of the relationship. The way we're seeing it over here is like this. Every beginning of the new month, the sun and the moon get married again. And in its deeper level, we and God are getting married again. When we reach the 15th day of the month, and we start going into the 16th, the 17th, it's not that our marriage is breaking down. There are fissures in our relationship. We're not seeing eye to eye. And God is, it's like a husband and a wife that are not talking to each other. Each one sits, in the room, and they're looking at the two opposite walls because they don't want to talk to each other. There's no love there, God forbid. There's a beginning of a breakdown in the relationship. That's not what's happening on the second half of the month. It's that we can stop pretending and we can start being truer in our relationship. So I don't have to always look the cutest, the nicest. I can be more myself. You can handle me as I am. Quite on the contrary, you want to know me as I truly am on the deeper inner scale of who my truth is, what I truly are. And that's when God also stops pretending anymore, showing he just is on a deeper level with us. And that's the second half of the month, every day increasing in getting deeper into the essence of God, God revealing his essence, not his light. So every day of the month, it becomes another day of the month, more of the essence, more of the essence, and more of the essence. That's what we learned, this phenomenal teaching. This is just mind-blowing teachings. Now we're holding chapter 6 in the Mimer. So now the Rebbe says this concept is really true in every month on the second half of the month, but it is emphasized to a much greater degree on the full moon and when it becomes the full moon, and which means the marriage is complete, the union has reached its deepest point, and then after the full moon, it's not getting less. It's only unmasking. It's only being peeled away. The external light is being peeled away. So we're starting to merge into one entity. The marriage is becoming so deep, so core essential. So that's true every month. But in the month of Kislev, it is emphasized from all the months. The month of Kislev, which is when Chanukah comes out and the 19th of Kislev comes out. This is emphasized to a much higher degree. Why is that? Because he says, number one, the month of Kislev is the third month in the winter, a theme that we visited already in the last episode 34. We already discussed the uniqueness of the month of Kislev being the third month. Now, we discussed then, and we discussed the same thing now. The Jewish calendar, every calendar is 12 months, so you can divide them into two sets of 6. 6 months of the winter, 6 months of the summer. And our calendar begins with the months of the summer because the Jewish months are counted from Nisan. Passover is the beginning of our first month. So 6 months from Nisan till Elul, corresponding to about March or May till about October. And then the winter months, which start in Tishrei, going till Adar, corresponding to like November through to March, right? These are the 6 months. So that's the way, or October, November, that's the way the 6 and the 6 line up. In each of them, there is a third month. So the third month in the summer is Sivan. And the third month in the winter is Kislev. So we're talking about the month of Kislev. So he says the concept that the union is taking place on a level of essence is primarily expressed and experienced in Kislev, the third month of the winter, more than any other time. Why? He says, number one, the number 3 is the number of marriage, is the number of union. Because one, if you're the only one on the island, you're not getting married because you're one. And if one day you wake up and you take a look and you walk around the island and you see there's a woman on the island like Adam, turned around and there's a lady there. Okay, now there's a possibility for a marriage. There's a man and there's a woman, but there's two. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or the opposite. Men are from Venus, women are from Mars. They're two separate entities. They're never getting along. They'll be killing each other. There's no way to marry that there is for that there's a concept of number three. The power of number three is the number of peace. It's the mediator. It's the power to take two separate entities, two separate worlds, and merge them together. So 3 is the number of marriage. That's why in our relationship with God as well, the first month, God takes us out of Egypt, the Nisan. Second month, we're trying to purify ourselves, but there's no yet marriage. When is our marriage with God? On the third month. That's when God gave us the Torah. According to all rabbinic literature, and actually there is verses, scripture as well, that convey this as well, is that the giving of the Torah wasn't only a commitment to God's laws, but it was a marriage with God. Israel and God got married. We're the wife, God, the Jewish people are the wife, God is the husband. And there was a marriage at Sinai. Okay. And now we understand why, because 3 is the number of marriage. But the question is, what kind of marriage is it? Is it a superficial marriage in which we are connecting to each other, but we're still two separate entities? Or is it a marriage that reaches its deep maturity, like a couple that's married for 60 years? She knows him inside out. Before he can even think what he wants, she knows already what he wants. He knows hers to the tiniest little nuance, because they're so interwoven and interconnected with each other. They're just one. And on the deeper level is because they really are one, because they're one soul. Now they're completely unified. So the question in our marriage with God, have we reached that oneness? So the Rebbe says an interesting thing. For that, we don't have that emphasized so much in the month of Sivan, which is the third month of the summer. For that, we have to pick up the second time we'll have the third month. That's the third month in the winter, the month of Kislev. And in the month of Kislev, we also commemorate the giving of the Torah. It's just the giving of the Torah of Hasidism. And what's the giving of the Torah of Hasidism? It's the Torah of Moshiach. It's the interlude to the future Torah. The giving of the Torah comes in 2 bursts. Bursts number 1, download number 1 was the external element of the relationship. That was at Sinai 3,335 years ago. And now, when Moshiach will be fully revealed, we will then experience phase 2 of the giving of the Torah. And that will mean same marriage, but the deeper element of our marriage will be communicated. As we said before, a man cannot communicate to his wife his essence. A woman cannot communicate to her husband her essence until they really, really reach a deeper maturity in their marriage. And they are completely one. So in us, it took with God, because he is so enormously big and we are so insignificantly tiny, small. So for us to be married with him, it takes a little longer. It takes us not 60 years. It takes us 3,335 years. And we began experiencing it 200 and 25 years ago, on the 19th of Kislev, when Hasidism was downloaded into the world. The lights of Mashiach, the deeper Torah, began to enter. The Torah that allows us to experience everything from a godly perspective, not from a human perspective, but from a godly perspective. We get the inside of the Torah, and God can communicate his essence to us. That's related to the second set of the second 3. Again, it has to happen on the third month, but not the third month of the summer, the third month of the winter. And now the Rebbe goes on to explain why the winter more than the summer. Why is the summer marriage? It's like we have 2 marriages happening. Every year we have anniversary of our external marriage. And then we have an anniversary of our internal marriage. Because since the Torah is given to us on a more external level and a more internal level, on the yearly cycle, we experience both. So now let's go back. The concept of a full moon means that we are fully attached to God. Our marriage has completely consumed us. Right? However, it can be on two levels. On an external level, it means we are a complete vessel to receive all of God's light. He's shining upon us and he's giving us all of his light, but he is still filtering. He's still shining light. He's not giving us essence. Deeper than that is that he begins to peel away the light and convey his essence, which is the greatness of the full moon, but the day after the full moon, the 16th, the 17th, the 18th. Less light, more essence. The peak of that is the 30th day of the month, because there's no light at all, because we're past light. We're in a pure state of oneness where there is no more pretending. It's just the pure essence fully merged with us on the 30th day of the month. Then we start over again. Each time it's on a higher level, but the concept is the peak of the marriage of essence. So what seems to be the greatest darkness is really the greatest intimacy, the greatest oneness. Now, if you remember, the Rebbe explained that the mid-month has 2 days that are the mid-month, the 14th and the 15th. Because both of them have a full moon, because the full moon is between the 14th and the 15th of the lunar calendar. That means from when we can spot the new moon, which is called the birth of the new moon, till it's full, it's somewhere between the 14th and the 15th. So on the 14th and the 15th, it's kind of a full moon. And the idea we learned that the difference between them is that the 14th is a level of union that's still superficial. It's the maximum we can receive when we're still experiencing ourselves as a creation and God being the creator. When we're still in the dating process of marriage. Remember, you can be married but still be in the dating process of marriage. So that maximum is on the 14th. Remember, we said 14 is the numeric value of die, enough. We receive as much as we can receive as a entity other than God. We max out, and that's a full moon. We're fully shining. But the 15th, we said, represents even a deeper aspect of the relationship. The 15th represents the next stage, the full attachment where the marriage moves into its maturity, where we suddenly realize we are him, and therefore we are open now to receive his essence. That's called shleimus halavana, not milui halavana, not filling it to its capacity, because now we don't have any more a limited capacity. Once we're him, we're capacityless, because we have an endless capacity, because we're ready to receive him as much as he is him. That's awesome. And that's what the 15th represents. And that's the real messianic stage. So the Rebbe says this idea, the concept of the 15th, not the 14th. The 14th, the concept of the 14th could be highlighted even in the month of Sivan, the third month of the summer. The earlier, the more, because the 14th represents it's still the external aspect of the bond, which comes from the external Torah revealed to us, which came to us in the summer. No, that we can reach a peak of it, being a total scholar, knowing every element of Torah, all the laws, being completely fluent in the Talmud, being perfectly an observant Jew, keeping all the mitzvot. God is completely reflecting off us, but still his external light. Ooh, the 15th of the month is really to the true depth of what it means. That level of union and then continuing into the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, where the second half of the month is not a decline, but the second half of the month is an increase in essence, a total merger with God, that's primarily in the second phase of our marriage, which is the third month, again, number 3, because 3 is marriage, but the third month of the winter, Kislev, in which we commemorate the Hasidic holidays and Chanukah. So we'll get to that in a moment. But why the 15th? Why the winter over the summer? Is there any reason why, if we choose to express a deeper union, where we're no more two, where we're completely one, a messianic kind, a futuristic union, where our union with God is one of absolute oneness, why is that experienced in the summer in the winter over the summer? So the Rebbe says something fascinating. And he says like this: the summer is a time when the sun, in relationship to earth, the sun is stronger in the summer. At least in the northern hemisphere where Israel is. And what happens? And in the United States, as opposed to South America, Australia, by them it's the opposite. But at least in the northern hemisphere, in which the Torah is measuring its influence by, because Israel is the center of everything. The summer are long days, which means there's a lot of sunlight, and it's also warm. It's much hotter in the summer, which means the sun is more intense. The winter, the sun is much weaker in relationship to the earth. There's no change in the sun, but in relationship to the earth, the sun is less. So there's longer nights, and it's frigid and it's cold, which means there's less revelation of sun. So therefore, spiritually, what does that mean? During the summer, God is being God who is the sun that represents, is metaphoric for God. God is being more expressive in the summer. God takes the lead in the relationship. God is being more involved, openly involved. He is stimulating the bond. The husband is the one who is driving the relationship. When our relationship is being driven by God, when it's God and us, then we don't dig so deep into ourselves, because we're always feeling warm. We're always feeling romanced by him. And therefore, it's not forcing us to go deep inside our soul. We can kind of just reciprocate to God's stimulation, and we're good. And what the Rebbe is really saying is that in the summer, it's easier to be spiritual, because God's light is radiating stronger in your in your soul, to the world in general and to the souls in particular. So in that case, we can respond to his gestures. And it's like God is taking on us on dates. He's being a gentleman. He's being kind. He's buying us flowers all the time. He's being nice to us. He's providing for us. We're just reciprocating. On that level, it's great, but it's more the external relationship. He's not really we're not really tapping his essence, because when it's coming more from him, it stays more on the surface. When it comes to winter, which in general, the time of the winter is a time of divine concealment, which expresses itself in the fact that the sun is kind of not as intense, and the sun is hidden most of the 24 hours of the day. It's dark. And even when the sun is out, it's still cold, which means that God is keeping himself a little more concealed. So what does that do to us? If we want a relationship, we have to go deeper. We have to seek it out. We have to go deeper into our soul, and we have to seek and work hard. When we work hard, we don't just access that which we would access in the summer without work. Say, in the summer, it comes easy. And in the winter, you have to try hard. The harder you try, you'll experience what you would have experienced in the summer without. No. Whenever God puts us in the state of concealment, is because when we dig and when we make an extra effort, we actually dig out something much deeper than the superficial relationship. When it comes through our work, then we discover God's depth, because we uncover the depth of our own soul. And then we discover how godly we are in our essence, and how we are really one with him. We are him. Not that we're inspired by him. Not we're excited because he's awesome. We realize how godly we are. How it's our nature to be godly. How all the stuff in our life that is ungodly is so fake. It's so external. It's what we thought is so important to us is really so, I can drop it in a moment. That's not really what I care about. I care about my purpose in life. I care about my divine soul. I care about being the divine being I can be. That's really what matters. It's like we shake off, because we have to work hard. We go deeper into ourselves and we discover our marriage on a much, much deeper, higher level, on a much deeper bond. That's why it's precisely in the winter months that we reach a deeper appreciation of our marriage, and in our connection as it applies to God in our cosmic marriage. When we got married to God 3,335 years ago at Sinai, it didn't come after a lot of hard work. God did miracles, took us out of Egypt, took us through the Red Sea, gave us manna from heaven. God was taking us on a ride in his Lamborghini. He was being so exquisitely romantic. He was being so awesome. He was showing up in all kinds of handsome, in all kinds of, he was a real show off at that time. So he was literally, sweeping us off our feet in such incredible romance. So then we came to Sinai. We took his Torah, but we took his Torah externally. Then God put us through a brutal darkness, close to 2,000 years of darkness, of concealment. Like he put us through a cold winter. It wasn't romantic summer nights where God was taking us to concert after concert under the stars. But rather, it was a cold, frigid winter for 2,000 years of difficulties and hardship. And we began to think that maybe and we were drawn away from God through all kinds of different seductions and all kinds of different things. We became less connected. But yet we keep on suddenly discovering that our connection to God is who we really are. And that's why even when we go astray momentarily and we get involved and we think that our Judaism and our connection is not real to us, we find out that when we try to pretend to be someone else, it doesn't work. That in essence, we are godly. That in essence, our mitzvot, our Torah lifestyle, is who we really are. We can't be anything else, which means we discover that God is our essence. We're not just running. We're not just excited and inspired by his mitzvos. This is who we are. So we reach, after 3,000 years, we reach a much deeper maturity in our marriage. And that's why Hasidism, which is the maturation of the Torah, the deeper Torah, the higher Torah, the essence of Torah being revealed to us, only came about 200 years ago, after 1,700 years of a long, bitter exile. It's a winter, but yet it's much deeper. Now we receive Hasidism. And now is when we can begin to appreciate what the second half of the month is. Less light, but so much more essence. We don't need the light. We don't need the externals. We want to be with God, even if it doesn't have the fireworks. Even if we are so connected. We are so deeply one. That's the idea. And the Rebbe says, so that's why the winter, we uncover how Israel and God are one. And that's why in Kislev is when the second half of the month is the most potent part of the month, more than every other month. And that's why all the holidays that come out in Kislev are holidays that happen in the second half of the month. By the way, interesting, the Rebbe's marriage himself, the Rebbe's anniversary to his wife, the Rebbetzin, is on the 14th day of Kislev, which means when there is a full moon in Kislev, representing to us the completion of the marriage, and comes the Rebbe, and the Rebbe reveals to us what is really the depth of a full marriage. A full marriage is one that you can go into the 15th, the 16th, 17th, and 18th, and experience deeper connection, higher and higher and higher, until you reach no light at all of the moon, and yet you're in the deepest oneness. And that's Moshiach, the ultimate revelation of essence. The Rebbe says that this idea, this is mind-blowing stuff, is actually hinted to, not just hinted, expressed in the word Kislev. The word Kislev comes from the word case, which means hidden, covered, and Lamed Vav is the numeric value of the word of Lamed Vav is 36 in Hebrew. Every letter has a number, so Lamed Vav is 36. Kislev is case Lamed Vav. So what does that mean? The word Lamed Vav means, which is 36, spells the word. We spoke about this in the earlier classes as well. Spells the word is the same numeric value as the word Ele, which Ele means these are, which represents a state of complete revelation. When you and what's revealed, everything is revealed. Ele means these are. You can say these are what you were looking for. This here they are. It's all revealed. Ele is complete revelation. Case means that which is covered. So what does Kislev mean? Case Lamed Vav. What is hidden comes to full revelation. What does that mean? We said earlier that the essence is not revealable. It has to be hidden. You can't reveal your essence to anybody. The only one who can know your essence is yourself and your spouse. Why your spouse? Because your spouse is you. A husband and a wife are one soul. So to your spouse, you can reveal, you can uncase, you can case yourself out. And that's what Kislev means, case ele. The case, the kisoi, that which you can't bare your soul and open yourself up to anybody else, but to yourself, and your spouse is your other half. So you can reveal, and in our relationship with God, in Kislev, God can open himself up completely. And he did that. Where? On the 19th of Kislev, he revealed his essence to us. Why the 19th? So number one, the Rebbe said the 19th of Kislev is in the second half of the month when there's less light, but yet more revelation. But why the 19th? Why not the 18th? Why not the 20th? So watch this. This is Torah. This is Torah from beyond. There's no such Torah in the world like the Torah we learn over here. It says the 19th. This is unbelievable. In Hashem's name, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton, the numeric value of the Tetragrammaton is 26. Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey, 26. However, we also know that there are hidden letters. Behind every letter are hidden letters. Behind the Yud, because when you spell out a letter, there are the letters which when I write the letter Yud, all I see is a Yud. But when I say the word Yud, you can hear that there is Yud. There is a D sound. What's the D? The D. There's a D there. The D is a Dalet. That means the Yud has a Dalet. And also a Vav, Yud. So in God's name, Yud Kei Vav Kei, there are hidden letters. So what are the hidden letters? The Yud is on the outside, but what are the hidden letters? The Vav and the Dalet. That's behind the Yud. What's behind the letter Hey? The next letter of God's name is a Hey. What's behind the letters Hey is an Aleph. So the hidden letter is an Aleph. So far we have a Vav and a Dalet and an Aleph. Now there's two Hay's in Hashem's name. So the second Hay also has an Aleph. So there's another Aleph. So put two Alephs, a Vav and a Dalet. Then there's one more letter in God's name, Vav. What are the hidden letters in the word Vav? So you can, in the word Vav, Vav is a V sound, but Vav has two V's, Vav. So these are two Vavs. And what makes it into, why isn't it Viv or Vev? Why is it Vav? Because there's an Aleph there. So the hidden letters of the word of the Vav is Aleph Vav. So now let's take all the letters together. What are all the hidden letters that are hiding in God's name? Vav and a Dalet. Three Alephs, because there's the two Hay's have an Aleph, plus one more Aleph in the word Vav, plus an extra Vav. So let's count the numeric value. Vav is 6, Dalet is 4, so it's 10. Aleph is 11. Another Aleph is 12. Another Aleph is 13. Plus the Vav, there's one more, there's another Vav there, right? Plus a Vav, 13 plus 6, Vav is 6. 13 plus 6 is 19. That means that the hidden letters of God's name equals 19. The external letters of God's name is 26. The internal letters of God's name is 19. What is the internal letters? Why are they internal? Why are they not seen? Because that's the side of God he can't show to us. Yud Kei Vav Kei is his name. It's an expression of him that he can show to the world. But then there is his essence that he can't show to the world. It remains hidden. But on the 19th of Kislev, through the revelation of Chassidus, God spills out his essence. In the deeper teachings of Hasidism, God is communicating his essence. That's why, which month does he choose? The third month, which third is marriage. In the third month of winter, and in the winter, the month Kislev, which Kislev means case, what is concealed. Elak comes to revelation. What is that? That's 19. 19 of the inner letters, they are revealed. It's mind-blowing. That's why the 19th of Kislev is this awesome holiday of the revelation of Hasidism. Now fasten your seatbelts, because we're going deeper. The Rebbe doesn't say it here, but it says elsewhere. To who can you reveal your essence? You can't reveal your essence, but to yourself. So Israel has to rise to a level where it's revealed that Israel and God are one, and then he can reveal his essence to us because we are really him. Just like a person can only reveal his essence to his spouse, his or her spouse. When your marriage reaches a maturity, because your spouse is really one soul with you, based on this mystical teaching, right? Fine. So take a look. We said that God's name equals 26, the tetragrammaton, 26. But we say there are hidden letters there, which equal 19. So let's do the arithmetic together. 26 plus 19. That means we take the external letters of God's name and the internal with the essence, with the internal letters. What do we have? 26 plus 19 is 45. 45 spells a very important word. 45 spells the word Adam. Aleph, Daled, Mem, which represents the first human being, Adam. Aleph, Daled, Mem is 45. Okay. When God created Adam, that's why we mean that Adam is created in the image of God, because God's name equals 45, and Adam is 45. That means the human being has got all this divine feature in him. Awesome. Okay. But inside Adam, we know there was hidden another person. When God created Adam, he only created Adam. But inside of him, inside a rib of his, was who? His wife. She is and what is she? She's the internal of him. Later, God puts Adam to sleep, as we know the story in Genesis. He goes to sleep, and God creates him a wife from one of his ribs. What's her name? In English, we refer to her as Eve. But in the Torah, what is she called? She's called Chava. That's her name. Ches, Vav, Aleph. That's how Ches, Vav, Aleph. No, Hey. Sorry, Chava is not the one in Aleph. Chava is Ches, Vav, Hey. So now let's make the numeric value of the word Chava. Ches is 8. Vav is 6. 8 and 6, 14. We have one more letter, Hey. 14 plus 5 is 19. That means Chava. Do you even realize what has just been said? Chava, she's the hidden, just like God's name is 26, but the hidden letters inside his name equal 19. Adam equals this 26 with the 19 equals 45. Chava, Eve, she's the internal of Adam. That's why he can marry her. He marries her, she becomes separated from him. She becomes as if she's a different person, a complete separate entity. Then later they meet, they date, they get to know each other, and eventually they become one and they become inseparable because she's really his essence. And that's why he can convey his essence to her. She brings out his essence. She's the 19. With us, with God, it's the same thing. God created us to be small little creatures in this world, but in truth, our souls are his essence. So that's the awesomeness of the 19th of Kislev. The essence is expunged. The essence is revealed. To who? To us. After 3,000 years of first dating us, God is finally ready to give us the deeper Torah, the future Torah, the Torah of Moshiach, the Torah of the essence. So now we'll understand this concept that Kislev is associated with the giving of the Torah, but the giving of the Torah of the future, the maturity of the marriage. Essence to essence is hinted to, not just hinted to, but it's expressed in the Midrash. There is a Midrash that says like this. God says, the Midrash says it is where is this Midrash? In Shmos Rabbah, Midrash Rabbah, in the end of Parsha Tezvav. We'll talk about Tezvav. Tezvav represents full, complete marriage, 15. So what does it say over there? It is a parable to a king that betrothed a woman. Betrothed a woman means he gave her ring. She's married to him, but they haven't yet consummated their marriage. Because they were betrothed, they were like, in a sense, we can say she's engaged. What does he do? He gives her gifts. But he gave her, the Midrash says, small gifts. Because she isn't married yet. He hasn't yet fully taken her into his house. So therefore, she's married, but he didn't really he's not intimate with her. So therefore, he gave her only small gifts. But when he finally comes to complete his marriage and make the second stage in Judaism, in halacha, there's 2 stages to marriage. One is a betrothal, and then later comes the completion of the marriage. Today's days, we do them both in the same night, under the chuppah, but it used to be that it was done a year apart. You gave a ring, she became your wife, but you're not allowed yet to live with each other until you go under a chuppah. So the Midrash says a king betrothed a woman, gave her small gifts. Then when he came to take her, to completely marry, to be fully one, to take her home and take her to his palace, then he wrote her everything. He gave her a gift. He gave her his entire kingdom. He said, everything is yours. So the Midrash continues, and the Midrash says, so it is in current times, the Midrash says, meaning from when the Torah was given at Sinai until the coming of Moshiach, We are like a betrothed woman. Like it says, God says, I betrothed you forever, but you're only betrothed. It was a betrothal. It wasn't yet the marriage. And therefore, God only gave us a small gift. What did he give us? He gave us one of his features. He gave us the moon. What does he mean he gave us the moon? The Jewish people count to the moon. And we know the Jewish people decide the holidays based on the moon. So the idea is that God is saying, I give you the moon. The moon is yours. Like it says, this month is yours. However, in the days of Moshiach, we're going to have the marriage, the Medrash says, and therefore, the verse says, the one that has been intimate with you, he has made you. That means once we experience complete intimacy, essence to essence, the complete revelation, the complete, even on a physical level, the idea of an intimacy is that you give your essence. That's why you can create a child. That's why you should only have intimacy with your wife, meaning with the one who's your soul. Every other kind of intimacy is fake. It doesn't belong, because giving your essence to someone who can't receive your essence is, so physically you can do it. The cow can also have marital have what we call have sex. That's nothing. But we're talking giving essence. That should only be with one spouse, because that's the idea of it. You're transmitting your essence. So only when Mashiach comes will we receive the full essence of God in that union. And at that time, Hashem gives them everything. Like it says, Vahamaskilim, and the wise people of those days, Yazhiru, will be shining like the luminance of the sky. Harabim, and those that are doing a kindness with the public, teaching Torah to the public, and so on and so forth. Kakachavim will be like light, like stars, la'olam va'ad, forever. So what does that mean? God is giving the entire sky, which means he's giving the cosmos over to his wife. So spiritually, how does that fit with what we're learning? So including in the sky is the sun. What that means is like this. Until Mashiach comes, God only gave us the moon. What does that mean? The moon and the sun are God being like the sun, the moon being. So God is saying, you're like the moon. I will shine. The small gifts means that the sun shines upon the moon. We receive divine illumination, but it's external illumination. It's only rays of the sun that light up the moon. And when Mashiach comes, God says, I'm now going to give you my entire self. I'm giving you the sun. I'm giving you the whole sky, which means I'm giving you the sun. I'm giving you me. I'm giving you my essence. That means that the communication of God's essence is only going to be in the future, in the Torah of Mashiach. Where is God going to transmit his essence? Through the teaching of the Torah that Mashiach will teach. That's going to be the essential teachings of the Torah, not the outer rays of the Torah, the inner essence of the Torah. When did that begin? When did these essential teachings of Torah begin? In the teachings of Hasidism, which is the introduction of Mashiach. That's why when does it happen? In the month of Kislev, as we spoke, and on the 19th of Kislev. Because over here, and in the second half of the month, not in the beginning of the month. Because that's the concept of this level of the relationship. It's the maturity, it's essence to essence. We're no more, we can only receive such Torah when we're no more two, when we have already revealed that we are one with God. When do we get to reveal that? After a long winter, after a long exile, as we discussed. Unbelievable. The footnotes I touched upon a little, they're very deep. The Rebbe explains over here why the 19th of Kislev is even higher than Lag BaOmer, which is also another day in which we celebrate the secrets of the Torah revealed through Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The Rebbe says that the 19th of Kislev, which is the celebration of the Alter Rebbe, which is, by the way, today is his yard site, the Chav Dalet Kislev, the 24th of Kislev. It's good to speak about this. The 19th of Kislev, the Rebbe says, is higher than Lag BaOmer, which is the 18th of Iyar. The Rebbe compares the number 19 and 18. The number 18 represents, which is the letter which spells the word Chai. Chai is life, but life that we can't the essence of life can't be revealed, so it remains hidden. But by the 19th is deeper, that we can even take the essence and reveal it. That's the quality of the 19th of Kislev, even deeper Torah than what Reb Shimon Bar Yochai and Kabbalah revealed. In other words, Hasidism is much higher than Kabbalah, even than Zohar. Unbelievable. Which can only happen when we are in a state of complete oneness with God. But it's all a preparation for the coming of Moshiach. Okay. We're going to leave this. Oh, so, sorry. The other day, that is the other holiday that conveys this depth of bond is Chanukah. Chanukah is also in Kislev. Like we said earlier, Chanukah, we light up the oil. The oil is the essence revealed. However, there's a very important idea about Chanukah. Chanukah, in a sense, expresses it even more than the 19th of Kislev. Why? What happened? Just in the experience of Chanukah, what are we doing? Chanukah starts on the 25th of the month of Kislev, all the way at the tippy end of the month, at the very tail end of the month. The moon is going almost completely dark. Every day, darker and darker, almost completely dark. Yet, what are we doing? The first day of Chanukah, we light one candle. First eve of Chanukah. Second night of Chanukah, we light 2 lamps. Third light of Chanukah, we light 3 lamps. And the fourth, 4. So something strange. The moon is declining. The light in the sky is getting darker. It's declining. Yet on Chanukah, we're adding more candles, more lights. So the Rebbe is showing that there's something very deep over here. It's showing that notwithstanding the decreased, what we might think is decreased holiness, because there's a lack of God, of sunlight on the moon, which means represents a certain dimming of God's light, it doesn't mean less God, it means more God. You're doing 2 mitzvahs, you're lighting 2 lamps, you're lighting 3 lamps, because more essence is being revealed. The dimming of the light is not a sign of distance. It's a sign of a deeper intimacy. We might even say that even in a physical intimacy, we know that there is a Torah law that when you're experiencing intimacy, during intimacy, you have to shut all lights. It has to be in the dark. Why? Because as long as you're looking and you can see the other person's external element, the external, the light distracts you. When I say the light of the person, whatever they're showing on the outside, they can show it to anybody else. But their essence, who they really are at their core, that they can't show. So you close the lights. There's no light, and it's only essence to essence. It happens in darkness. That's what an intimacy means. So with the moon, it's that way. God is shutting the lights. It's getting darker and darker. But we are connecting to God on a deeper level. We're lighting 2, one day, 1 lamp, obviously over here, you're also lighting a light. So, but the point over here is the Rebbe is pointing out is that the darkening of the days of the month should not be seen as Chanukah is showing that it's not a decline. Because every night of Chanukah, you're having more mitzvah, which means more connection. And not only you're having more mitzvah, you're having more revelation. But the point over here, it's less external revelation. It's more internal, essential revelation. That's what's increasing. And that's messianic. That's Moshiach. We're going to stop over here, which is we're holding by chapter 10 in this fascinating talk. And the Rebbe is going to connect it all to the times where we're holding literally right now, that this type of unity we can begin experiencing now in the last 30 years more than ever, because the degree of how much we can discover how one we are with God is dependent on us first finishing the world and first finishing the job and rectifying the world. So until we didn't finish rectifying the world, we have to experience ourselves as a separate entity from God. We can't be God and fix the world, because if we are Him, then we would blow the world apart. We can't fix. In order to fix the world, we have to be in our smallness. The moon has to be separated from the sun. We have to follow the old system. We can't be in the new system. But once we finish the work of rectifying the world, then we can discover the depth of our bond, and we can be elevated to who we really are, to our higher stature, where the sun and the moon are unified, and Hashem and the Jewish people are one. So therefore, it's now particularly when we're finished already with the rectification of the world that we can live in this higher, deeper unity. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and Be'ezus Hashem, may Moshiach be here before we give the next class, and maybe after Moshiach comes and is fully revealed, we will continue class number 4, Be'ezus Hashem, in the beginning of next week. Thank you.